Hello, everyone. Mr. Lipchick here, and our topic for discussion today is confirmation bias. In this lesson, you will define confirmation bias and identify why it occurs, explore examples of confirmation bias, particularly related to news and online information, identify strategies challenging your own confirmation biases. The essential question for this lesson is, how can you challenge your own confirmation bias and check what sources say? This is very important. This is a critical thing that all thinking, functioning people need to do, because there's so much information out there with the internet revolution that it's difficult sometimes to discern what is accurate and what is unintentionally inaccurate or intentionally inaccurate. So we need to be able to understand that. And one of the ways for us to understand it is to understand our own natural biases, which we all have. So, bias refers to a person's viewpoint, which is heavily in favor or against an idea or thing, usually in a way that is closed-minded or unfair. The human brain has a tendency to seek confirmation of what it already knows, when it looks at something new. And all human beings have confirmation bias, and we must be able to identify it if we are to seek the truth. The philosopher Aristotle said, "Know thyself." It's very important to know yourself before you can analyze what other people are saying. So, confirmation bias refers to seeking out and automatically accepting information that confirms an existing belief that we have. This method of gathering information isn't logical because it will lead to an inaccurate conclusion and it will reinforce your existing ideas without any supporting facts. Disconfirmation bias is a similar phenomenon, which is avoiding or discounting information that contradicts our existing beliefs. And then we have the subject of fake news, which is popularly talked about today. With so many media outlets today, many of them are not credible, and we face the phenomenon of fake news. Fake news is defined as a form of news consisting of deliberate disinformation or hoaxes spread via traditional news media or online social media. It's usually spread by what are termed as alternative media sources and not by established and dedicated journalists who value their reputation. It's important to make note that serious journalists, of which there are thousands around the world, take their standards of authenticity very seriously. They do not have a desire to wreck their careers by reporting misinformation. Good, reputable media outlets will fire people for manufacturing evidence or altering a story. Purveyors of fake news use people's confirmation biases to spread disinformation. An example, an alternative media outlet falsely reports that thousands of children are being kidnapped throughout the state. Such a report relies on the strong instincts of adults to protect children. So, in the interest of safety, people are going to assume that it's true out of a bias towards safety. And some of these, alternative outlets, they play upon those things. They're very basic human emotions that people respond to. So you need to choose your news. You need to choose reliable sources of media before you even start looking at confirmation bias. Go to factual reports and sources of information as much as possible. Look at things that are traditionally based on fact. Read carefully that information and separate facts from opinions. Be skeptical Be skeptical of anonymous sources, especially. When people post things anonymously or publish things anonymously, there is quite the chance that it is simply not credible if they do not want to attach their name to it. Utilize mainstream news that has a reputation for credibility. Research the credentials and reputation of these news outlets for truthfulness. If they are untruthful or unreliable, there will be an abundance of information out there indicating that and showing evidence of that. Compare news from multiple credible sources to try to get to the bottom of what you think the story may be. Utilize your critical thinking skills, most of all. Critical thinking involves analyzing and evaluating information to form a well-reasoned conclusion or solve a problem. Steps involve checking your sources, contextualization, corroboration, reading closely, source checking. Sourcing is gathering information about the origin of the information. For example, you examine the identity of the author, perspective of the author. Are they known for a particular perspective? When was this article written? Where was it written? The purpose of the article. And ask, is it reliable? Also, contextualization. To contextualize means to understand the context of the time period and the information that as it was created. When and where was the information created? How many times? How have times changed since the reading of this information? And how might the circumstances under which the article was created impact its content? Was it written in Soviet Russia where there was strict censorship and penalties for speaking against the state? So to corroborate, you seek to find agreement or disagreement among documents to determine the facts of the issue. You review the article against other information. Does it agree with the other information about the event or the subject? What other possible documents must be examined? Which documents are most reliable? Also, close reading. Close reading means rereading a document many times to analyze the methods the author uses to make a claim or argument. What claim does this author make? What evidence does the author cite? Is it credible? What language is used? Is it vague or concise? Is it misleading? Is the author attempting to persuade the audience or report information? How does the article's language reveal the author's perspective? Oh, sorry about the misquote. Like I said, it was Aristotle. It was actually Socrates. The ancient Greek philosopher Socrates once said, "Know thyself." Actually, he's not the green philosopher. He's the Greek philosopher. My mistake there with a little spelling error. By this, he meant that you should be aware of your own tendencies so that you make the best decisions in life. We all have a tendency towards confirmation bias. In order to challenge it, we must all recognize that we have biases. Be open to new ideas. Research and evaluate opposing viewpoints. That concludes our discussion. Thank you for attending, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.